Hello everybody, welcome to another exciting video. I'm Water Tips. How are you doing today? Today I'm going to be talking about something that probably a lot of people have already talked about. There's various videos on this particular thing, but this is my particular video I'm going to have on this, and like I said, it's kind of my way of doing it, but you can do this in various ways. This is just one way I can use this effective. So the topic we're going to be talking about today is water powers, which is what I have. And going to be talking about the loadout that I have for DPS, and then a one for a healer loadout if you want to use that. But they're very basic loadouts. You can use this a number of ways. I'm just going to show you my way of doing this to get started. There's various powers I could probably do videos on, but this is the one I'm doing because of the power that I currently have. But I do like water powers. I like the way they work. Now, first thing we're going to do is go into my inventory. I'm just going to pop up and show a few other things before we get started with the loadout. Right now we got, as you can see, a weapon. I'm actually item level 46 right now. For my head, you want to have power beta if you're a DPS, which is what I am. For back, you want to be precision and might beta or might. For blue, you want to be dominance and health. And let's see, for yellow over here, you want power beta. Everything hands, you want precision and might or might. Waist, precision and might or might. Precision and might for the feet, just like so. This is kind of how you can look. Well, of course, you know, I'm a lower level, but that's how kind of how it should look. Pardon me. Here's my stats: health 5,452, and might's about 2,484. So even with just regular beta mods, if you remember the last video we talked about, I talked about modding and exabytes. If you just mod your gear with regular betas, you will never really have to worry about finding exhibits. If you want to put these, you know, these exabytes and take them out of your gear with the kit alpha kit, it's in the R&D station area in each of the 3 wings, then you shouldn't have to worry about ever finding exabytes until you get to a certain point where you're maxed out with your CR and you want to use higher plans. Anyhow, back to what we're talking about today. So, if you go to the trait menu, you want to scroll down to that. You'll see where there's water, loadout, and weapons, skimming, iconic powers, and stats. We're going to go ahead and look at the weapons for right now. Now for my weapons, I have hand blaster that I use. It's very effective for low, or I should say close range and long range attacks. This is what I use for water. You can use a various amount of powers. If you want to use a mastery, you can always select this, go down here and select that for whatever mastery you want. I currently don't have a mastery. One of their characters has a mastery, but I used to use it for him, but I realized that all my skill points could be more useful if I use them towards the other stat points, as opposed to just having all these weapons attacks unlocked. So that's for that weapon. Then, if you go to, let's see, skimming, which is what I have, you want to find the side of the inventory, of course, where you unlock the hyper skimming, or super flight, or jet glide, whatever power you have is going to have an upgraded speed. You always want to have that unlocked to get around faster. You want the dive bomb. For me, these are the ones I want to talk about. These right here, the innates, the stun resistant, the restraint resistance, the restraint recovery, and the stun recovery, and finally the breakout mastery. All these are very important in the game to help you. And if you read each one, it'll tell you about it. I'm not going to read each one because I'm sure you've seen them before. In each one, I'll just read the first one. For stun resistant, requires level 9, requires in flight 2, permanently increases statistics, adds 10% stun resistance, plus 10% stun resistance. And they all have their different things, so that's all there is to that. And next is iconic. For iconic, I didn't really pick any iconic powers as of yet, because I didn't really think anything in here that I could really use at the moment. I'm pretty sure I could use a hard light shield. You can do whatever you want if you want to use this extra power for your water. I see how people use a robot sidekick for their powers as like an extra added power so that they can just summon it and it can attack at will as you're doing your powers, which is very useful. The hard light shield. But nothing for that right now. Now for the most important part, stats. What you want to have in stats for me is, I chose superpowered. As you can see, it's used superpowered if you prefer attacking with your superpowers. Recommended for damage or superpowers. Plus 10% might, plus 10% power, plus 25% power regeneration. That's just what I picked. And then underneath, so far I have critical attack chance unlocked. I got critical attack damage, critical healing magnitude, And then I just started working on the might and power. So because I get started, but you want to focus on might and power, health, even a little bit of dominance, to be honest, and you want precision. Actually, everything you can pretty much unlock, but the main focuses for being a DPS are might, power, and health. Those are the three main focuses, and of course your most important one is might, since you're DPS. That's what I should probably tell you, let you know what's important. Just for like every role, you just need different stats you have to focus on. And that's it for that. Now moving on to the loadout, I'm going to talk about my particular loadout. Like I said, all these powers, here's all the powers here. I'm going to read them off one by one. I'm not going to explain all of them because you've probably been familiar. I'm only explaining the ones that are my loadout. But I will go through all the ones in the list just to say what they are. You got Soothing Mist, Aquatic Arsenal, Bubble, Depth Charge, Tempest Guard, Blessing of the Depths, High Tide, Water Spouts, a Supercharged Twinkle Pool, Supercharged Whirlpool, a Supercharged Flood of Power, a Pressurize, a Crashing Wave, a Shark Frenzy, a Riptide, a Torrent, a Dehydrate, Aqua Lance, Supercharged Call of the Deep, 2 Tsunami Strikes, Ebb, Drown, Mending Wave, and last but not least, Solace of the Sea. Now in my loadout, I'm actually a DPS water, but I do use both roles, which most people probably do. And one thing that I don't really do a lot of, I'll just say real quick, which is kind of not really on the subject, but I don't always get gear for both sides of my roles. Like whatever my main role is, I usually just get gear for that side. But if you want to work it the other way, you can get both gears for your builds that are in your armory. More on that later, but you can always get both gear. I always just focus on my main role. Whatever main role I'm always at all the time, like 100% of the time, I always just use that gear. And that's also very important when you go to the vendors. Always make sure you get the proper gear that fits what your gear is. You don't want to get healer role gear for your DPS gear. So always make sure of that too. Just another advice, or I should say another tip from Water Tips. Anyway, moving on. Going back to loadout. So for my particular loadout, what I got is first one is Ebb. It's a very simple one. It pulls wave of water, which pulls enemies in front of you towards you, dealing extra damage. It is a water combo tap melee type of attack power where you tap the flow to push opponents in front of you away or dealing them damage and knocking them down. The power interactions are crush enemies take additional damage. So I'm going to show you that real quick. All you do is just go over here, select with your power button with the square, whatever button you have in your slot. Push it once, tap it square, push it back and forth. Repeat. Tap square, push it back and forth. That's all there is to it. Now that power to me is very useful when you actually want to attack enemies and have them be pushed away, or if you want to pull them towards you. That's why it's a very beneficial power. See, like this, a very valuable power in a lot of ways. I've seen a lot of people use it. Not maybe in a particular slot that I have. And you want to use that for it's for both close range and long range. So it's basically one. I think it's a power that everybody should have in their loadout at some point. And that's what I use. Next one is also very important. This is the main basis for most powers if you want them to be stronger. At first, I didn't think much of the High Tide button. I never really used it a lot. But then I found out that when you use High Tide, it actually makes your power stronger. And as it says, it summons the power of the deep, increasing the potency of some of your water abilities. So as you can see, it's very important to have that one. Not that I never used it before, but I didn't realize how much it actually drastically changes the powers in their particular damage and potency. So basically, once you hit it, as you can see, you hear a noise, and then whatever power that you previously do, like for instance this one, is a lot stronger. See? There's not much you're going to be able to tell right here because I have kind of low yet, but the powers are a little more potency and more stronger. It doesn't matter if you're healer powers or you have that, it works for both. And I can show you a little more about it in a minute, but that just increases the potency. So whatever power you have, depending on if it's healer role power or a DPS power, it increases the potency of it. So for instance, like I just showed you, when you tap this button and you push any power like this, it increases the potency and the damage of it. A lot more, in fact. And I've noticed that it increases not only the potency, but if it's a power that just damages once, like this one, the Aqua Lance, and you push the High Tide, it could cause it to increase damage over time. So that's another thing. Anyways, go back to loadout. The next one is Blessing of the Depths. This is a healing power. I do have it in my DPS loadout, and I'll tell you why. and I'm pretty sure a lot of people do the same things. Whenever I have a loadout, this is one thing, I'm not sure if a lot of people do this, but this is something that I do. I try to have at least one healing power and possibly a protection power, like a bubble or shield. This one I switched over with High Tide because I feel that I didn't really need a shield that badly because I have a healing power already. So if you have just a shield, a healer roll, if you think you need a combination of both, go ahead, but keep in mind it takes out 2 out of the 6 slots that you have. So I have it here, and all it does is, you know, it quickly washes yourself and group members and mystical energy from the depths of the ocean, healing them. Now, if you look for power actions to be able to talk, you'll see what I'm talking about, High Tide. If you are in High Tide, Blessing of the Depths heals over time. This effect removes High Tide, see? So no matter what power you have, but you have to read it first. If the power is not High Tide compatible, then you probably don't want to use it unless you really want to have it always, unless you just want to use the power, you don't really care. But like, see, let me see if I can come up with one. See, like this one here, this is Depth Charge. Call forth a line of consecutive violent water bursts in front of you. Each charge exposure dealing damage to emits in the area. That particular one, there's no High Tide that you can use to make that, to amplify the power or potency of it. So there are certain powers that don't have that. There are supercharges that actually have it too, I think. Here's one. The Tranquil Pool. That's one that they can switch out to and use, and you can use it for that too. If you are in High Tide, the Tranquil Pool also grants each group member a bubble. This effect removes High Tide. So as opposed to if you were just regularly a Tranquil Pool with no High Tide, let's say, it's just going to heal everybody over time. It's a supercharge. If you use High Tide, it's going to also grant a bubble to each member once you use it. So High Tide is very useful. Anyway, move on to the next one. Next one is Shark Frenzy. You've probably seen this one's a very popular attack. Most people use it a lot. It's basically a shark, a water type of shark that you throw at people and attacks them. Like so. Very easy to use. It can work for both long range and close range attacks. I think it's more for long range though. I mean, as you can see, by throwing the shark, you can see it's meant for long range attacks. If you're really close, you know, of course it's just gonna, you know, it doesn't really, it still hits the target, but you can tell it's for more long range attacks by the way the shark kind of just jumps out at you. See how far away it was, and it still got it. Let me read that one real quick too. So, for this one, it creates a large shark water construct and a command to attack your target and enemy nearby, dealing damage. And again, if you are in High Tide, the Shark Frenzy will deal critical damage. This effect removes High Tide. So I also select that for long range attack. See? So a couple of my attacks are long range, just like the Ebb attack, which is close range and long range. It pulls or pushes them away, and the shark gets them at long range and close range, but probably more of a long range attack. Next one is Aqua Lance. You probably saw it earlier. I just kind of put an example for High Tide. It forms a triton of water and smashes down on a target and enemies in the area, dealing academic damage. Power Rack, crushed enemies take additional damage. If you are in High Tide again, Aqua Lance deals damage over time. This effect removes High Tide. So let me go ahead and see if I can show you. This is a perfect example of the Aqua Lance without High Tide. Now with High Tide, as you can see, there's a little bit of damage. Little, what they call ticks, I think. Or I call it ticks, or whatever you call them. Kind of like electricity. You can do like this. See? But it does, after the rotation, where it starts to cool down with that, it only lasts for so long. So it's one of the things you want to push immediately and just start, you know, tapping on buttons. And I'll show you that in a minute. So, last but not least is the supercharge. I think not everybody, but I think there's quite a bit of people who do use the supercharge in the loadout at times. When they don't know exactly what else to put in their loadout, if they want to speed their power, you don't have to have a supercharge. But like I said, if you look above, up to your name, below your name, up in the upper left-hand corner, you see below your name where there's your health bar and the power bar. Right below that's the orange bar that fills up constantly when you're attacking something. As you can see, like when I'm just hand blasting or using certain powers, whatever you're doing, the bar goes up little by little until it gets to the very top. When it's full, you can use supercharge. See? Now some powers you can only use once in that time, and other powers you can use a couple times. So I'm choosing to use this one, which is called Flood of Power. Surround yourself in a large amount of water, granting you power and immunity to crowd control effects, shielding you from incoming damage, and reducing your active water superpower cooldowns by a large amount. I'm using that one because when I'm by myself, I figure I just need to restore my power because I'm always constantly doing rotations like these and stuff like that. So I always constantly want to have to refill it if I need to. There are in fact powers that to purposely fill up your supercharge that they made more recently, so you can use those as well. I'm trying to think which one it is for this one. Deal extra damage. Anyhow, I'm sure it's here somewhere, but there's actually one that fills up your supercharge as well. Anyhow, maybe there isn't one for this one, but most powers, a lot of powers do have the one where you can fill up your supercharge as well as this one. Anyhow, so that's my DPS loadout, and now I'm going to show you what it looks like when I start it. Basically, you would come in, you just immediately want to push high tide, then you start using your rotation, going down the line. Like this. You just keep going, using the rotation, high tide, shark attack, hand blast. Just like so. Then of course you supercharge to gain your power back. Just start again. The only one I'm not using is my healing power, because I'm not getting hurt, of course, but if I was getting hurt, I would definitely use it in there somewhere. Also very effective, of course, when you do have high tide, because you can heal over time with it. Like so. And that's my DPS loadout. I think it's pretty basic. I wouldn't consider it an advanced loadout, but this is one way you can kind of consider it sort of an advanced loadout, where see, as I'm using the supercharge, the flood of power, and the shark attack, as well as this right here. The two powers I switched out, my original loadout, this is the particular loadout I use when I'm by myself. I have two loadouts I use for DPS sometimes, but I've done with all my characters. For this one, I switched out the Blessing of Depths. It's usually this one down here, which is the Solace of the Sea. And you might find a way to do that too, switch out certain powers if you don't like one or the other. But I use this one for when I'm in group, the Solace of the Sea, to heal everybody, as well as myself. And then this one I switched out with Tranquil Pool, because I didn't feel I needed to have a healing power like that when I'm by myself. So when I'm by myself, I use Tranquil Power. When I'm in a group, I use Tranquil Pool, or whichever other one you want to use. But because it's DPS, you probably want to use maybe a Whirlpool, or I call it the Deep, since you'd be in group. Maybe somebody else is a healer, so you can just use those, whatever to help. Now, but that's pretty much all there is to that for DPS. So that's about it. What I do also is you want to have one power in your loadout that you always want to switch out with a different one. If you want to switch out to try new ones, I always have a power in your loadout. I guess for me it would be the shark. You can switch it out with whatever you want in here if you don't want to have that one. But anyway, that's my DPS loadout. Now I'm going to show you a healer loadout real quick that you can use. This is my healer loadout. Basically, it's consists of Aqua Lance, High Tide again, the Tempest Guard Shield, the Mending Wave, the Solace of the Sea, and then the Tranquil Pool. So I made sure I had at least one attack. You always want to have at least one or two attack damages in your healer loadout, even though you're like a healer, because in case you're by yourself, you're probably going to switch out a couple of loadouts. You won't need all these, like I said again. You want to always have an attack one besides your weapon, because when you're a healer, you're mostly just heal yourself and others if you're a healer role, so you want to have at least one or two attack powers in your loadout. And of course a shield. So basically if I switch, but I'll show you, if I should put it with my healer roll. This is what it looks like. Of course. I just realized that's just the loadout that I didn't save it as a loadout. Anyhow though, but that's the loadout that it shows here. My particular hero loadout wasn't saved like that, I guess. I switched over. Or actually, no, I didn't switch over. Let me see. You have to go out here. Sorry about that. Let's see, like this. There it is. Okay. I forget you have to be a little bit away from these sparring targets, otherwise it can allow you to switch out. So basically, it looks something like this. High tide, put shield up. Like that. You want to put this little thing up for people to heal them. And then of course your Tranquil Pool if it's really needed. So you just keep repeating the process, and like thing like this. Use that. Wait till they kind of refills, and just keep doing it again. Like so. Some of these powers you won't even have to use, because like I said, There's probably other people in the group that have healing powers. I noticed a lot of healing powers nowadays with the updates and whatnot. You can still heal while you're DPSing, which is excellent. It used to never be that way, I think, but there's something to do with it. You pull through them. But that's my healer loadout. Let's switch over here. Of course, with the healer loadout too, you can also do the same thing. Like, you know, you can switch out a few powers here and there. Like, for instance, by myself, I'll probably just use this again, flood of power, and I probably won't use this many healing powers. I'll probably maybe use 1 or 2, something like that. So there's just a variety of combinations and different ways you can do loadouts. This is just my loadout if you want to get started, but it works very well for DPS, which is my main. So these are the ones I recommend for anybody who's just starting out, or even if you've been playing for a while. They both work out very well, and like I said, just use them at your leisure and practice. This is the war room that I'm in. You can always use this to practice your powers and so forth. Let's complete the process like so. But like I said, I do want to thank you for joining me on this little water loadout. I will be thinking about some more videos later on. Maybe on other powers if I can, it depends. Most likely I'll be doing some more tips on how to mod and other things and helping out through certain missions and stuff. So anyway, I do thank you for joining me. This is Water Tips. Make sure to subscribe and like if you like these videos. Let me know if you have more of a different power loadout you want to use, or let me know about that you think might work better than the ones I have. Let me know. And I'll see you guys next time. Thanks and have a good day.